We support churches and parents in raising children to know Christ eternally. So today is all about families, churches, Jesus Christ, and the Bible. And Easter. Easter was the fifth thing. It's lovely to see you all. People are still coming in. We are going to have a wonderful time together. I'm going to open up 2 verses of the Bible in Luke 24, but I'm going to show you on PowerPoint. So act relaxed. That way you don't have to panic and think, I don't have my Bible near me. How awkward is that? I'm going to show you 2 verses. It's lovely to have you with us. People are still coming in. I'm still Ed Drew. This is still the Easter idea swap. If you've come expecting, I don't know what else you could expect on Zoom at 3:30 on a Wednesday afternoon, flower arranging by Zoom. We are here to swap ideas about Easter. Don't panic if you've got none. You will have by in an hour and a half's time. There's even a danger you have too many. We are recording this, so no swearing, no dancing on the tables, no whooping too loudly, but some whooping always helps. We're going to make this available on YouTube afterwards. We're not going to make available your breakout groups. So everything you say in your breakout group is safe. Everything you say to everyone is not safe. We are also going to email out the chat afterwards. That's a thing. So if someone already has the idea and it's online, or you have the idea, then you just type it into the chat and we edit that down magically. We don't remove the bad ideas. We just take out the, sorry, has anyone seen my microphone? And we email that out afterwards. You are all very welcome. Look at this, terrifying. We've had to expand our Zoom membership just for today. That's how excited we are and how many of you there are. We're doing this together. I'm going to pray as we start. Dear Father, you are Lord. You are the Lord of all hope, of all joy, of all goodness, and all love. We thank you, Father, that you give us those things and you are those things. We pray, Father, for this next hour and a half, that it would be you more than anyone else who inspires us, who encourages us, who spurs us on to love families in our community and in our church. Be gracious with us, Father, because we come a little more broken than usual. Amen. Amen. My son has taken to baking in lockdown. He likes chocolate, he likes eating, and he's discovered if he does the baking, he can do more of both of those. He doesn't have to wait for someone else to do the buying. So I persuaded him to start delivering them to neighbors. And we have definitely noticed that now when you deliver muffins to neighbors and you reassure them that my son really has washed his hands in the last week, they wait till you have left before they pick up the tub. You know, you have to be more than 5, 10, 20 meters away before they risk picking up tubs of muffins. And that is because we're more afraid than we used to be. Yesterday, a family group walked not only around us, but beyond the car in the middle of the road to be as far away from us as possible. And I don't think that was just because of the behavior of my children. We are more anxious than we were before. Holidays no longer exist. Half term is coming. Easter holidays are even on the horizon, but no one has any holidays. No one can go anywhere. No one knows if they'll ever be able to go anywhere. We don't quite know where rest will come from or respite. There is no singing. There is no celebration. This afternoon, this evening, we're going to clap Sir Tom, because that's all we have left is clapping. And there are no hugs. There's no hospitality. Our homes have less laughter in them than they used to because we have less intimacy or care. Let me tell you that we and our communities desperately need Easter. I would argue this Easter is more necessary than any Easter we've ever had before. In Luke 24, we read this. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground on that first Easter Sunday. But the men, the angels, said to them, "Why do you look for the living amongst the dead? He is not here. He has risen." Why do you look for the living among the dead? Why do you look for Jesus amongst the fear, amongst the anxiety, amongst the hopelessness, amongst the sadness? He has risen. His rule drives out fear. That's why we can keep giving people muffins on their doorsteps. His love drives out anxiety. There is certainty when things are changing. This Easter, his resurrection brings hope, even when we don't know if we're ever going to have a holiday again. His resurrection says there's a forever holiday coming, a forever rest. This Easter, we need the resurrection. We need it explained because of Easter. We are Christians. We know how to celebrate. We are the only ones who know how to sing when we are broken and when we are sad. We know how to celebrate at Easter, even when we feel sad. We know we can and we want to. We're talking about Easter because we're Christians and we know we have hope this Easter. And we are churches. We are the experts at local. We are going to throw ideas at one another this afternoon, and each of our churches, each of our communities, and each of our leadership teams look different. So none of these ideas will be for all of your, all of these ideas won't fit all of our churches. But we know our communities. We are local. We know if there is a field we can sing in. We know if there's a football pitch we can gather on. We know which roads we could meet in. We know which neighbours need the muffins. We know which neighbours need their dog walking. We have the WhatsApp group for the people on our road. We can make great decisions about which ideas will land. And we can write off that mad idea or this stupid idea, and we can settle on that brilliant idea. We can be inspired this afternoon. We are Christians this Easter. We know how to celebrate. We know we want to celebrate. We can hold that out to our community. And we are churches who understand the communities we're in. So these ideas can find a home with us. So that's what we're going to do for this next little while. Faith in Kids has got some ideas. We're going to share some of those ideas. We're going to do 3 cycles for this next time together. So we are going to, each cycle will be us throwing 3 or 4 ideas at you. First part. Second part, we'll go into breakout groups of about 6 to 10 people. There's a breakout group leader for each of them. So that is your chance to answer 2 questions. Are any of these ideas brilliant? Do I have any other ideas, brilliant or otherwise? Okay. So in our breakout groups, that's where the exchange can happen in a smaller group. So as you are listening to the ideas which inspire you, and have you got others to share, either riffing off that idea or going somewhere different? We're going to do, and then we're going to come back, we're going to share something of what we talked about, and then we do it all again. Ideas, breakout group, big share, do it all again 3 times. We're going to fly through. So put in your chat any of your instant thoughts, things that come to mind, websites who have already done it, organizations who are planning to do it. And then we'll share the stuff that needs a bit more discussion. Okay? I think that is all you need to know. We are then going to come back on the 25th of January with some resources that have been written based on what we talk about today. So we're going to choose after today what are the best ideas that we think land the most. So at the very end, we're going to have a quick straw poll. Which of these ideas would you like to work harder on? Everyone clear? Even if you're not clear, there are too many of us to argue. So we're just going to get straight on, okay? Firstly, I'm going to look to, sorry, that's annoying. Right, Amy. Amy's going to start the ball rolling, telling us about the Easter Festival and Good Friday in the Park. Amy, start shouting about Easter.
I've just lost it because I was just enjoying the piano lesson we were in. I think the piano lesson's finished. Well done. Do you want to just check you're on mute, everybody? Anyway, Easter ideas. So you guys are like the dragons in Dragon's Den, and I'm going to pitch some ideas to you that are a little average, which hopefully encourages you to feel more enthusiastic in the breakout rooms about sharing your ideas. So I think as families, one of the things we're really missing at the moment is seeing other people and being out. So when I encourage my children that we're going to go out and get some fresh air, they tell me that it's not more fresh air they need, it's fresh people. So, and I get where they're coming from. So one of the ideas I wanted to start with pitching to you, and if you just look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you've got reaction buttons, so we can be interactive. You're only allowed a certain amount of reactions, so you can't be too mean to me. We've got clapping, thumbs up, hearts, crying with laughter. So crying with laughter can be the sort of this is ridiculous reaction, and or shocked. And we've got celebrates. We should practice with the celebrates because we're going to celebrate Easter. He is risen. So well done. Look at that. We're all celebrating together. Fabulous. So I'm starting with an Easter festival. So an Easter festival, and I'll take some pictures of these and put them on our social media channels and stuff afterwards. But the idea of an Easter family festival is that you all get to be outside, perhaps in your church car park, maybe in the local park, perhaps in the school playground or somewhere like that. And you can set up some gazebos. So I should have got shares in gazebos before any of this began. And I've got a creation station over here. There's a lovely lady. And she's got on her table stuff to make Easter baskets, which are like those fruit punnets. You know, they go strawberry picking and you put them in and you cover them with stickers. And those cheapy Easter bonnets, you cover them with stickers. So this is particularly for our younger ones. And she's pre-sealed them in a box for 72 hours or whatever needs to be done. And round the side, there's families that have come in their family bubbles and they're at their little tables and they've booked their slot and they're having a lovely happy time waving at another family next to them. They're also doing the same thing. And then over here, we've got Easter engineering, egg engineering going on. There's people making little crafts to keep their egg safe in a box. And they've got junk modeling type stuff and they're all in their little family groups on their tables. They're making their thing. And then they're going to get dropped off a step ladder at the end. And then we're going to gather them all together and they're all going to be in their little zones and we're going to shout to them about the good news of Jesus. And there's going to be, maybe there's a hooker duck and you've worked out how to do that with hand sanitizer. But it's a fun family festival that's got some, maybe it's a bookable slot for a family if you've got loads of them, perhaps. It's just a book your session for your family to come in your table slot, those kinds of things, okay? Idea number one, Easter Family Festival. Idea number two, I'm rolling on. So idea number two would be Good Friday in the park or Come to the Cross, something along those lines. Ed and I had an argument over what to call this one, so you can decide later on. So this would be the low-key version of this, if you haven't got loads of people, loads of resources, would be that you, in your park or your churchyard or somewhere, get a big scaffolding plank, make a big cross, put a strut to stand it on, have a little table, some labels, nice pots of daffodils, make it look a bit nice. And as part of their daily walk, they could walk past it and think, oh, Easter, let's write our little names on the labels and let's pin our name to the cross to remember that Jesus died for us. You could make that part of a bigger thing. You could do a trail around the park. You could do an egg hunt with a verse on it. You could have someone there giving out hot cross buns. You could incorporate it with a bit of a passion play. You could go all out and do some sort of mega Good Friday in the park event, or you could just simply have a bit of a moment to reflect and stick some pins on a cross. I can see in the chat that someone's asked, do you need to ask the council if you want to do something in the park? Probably wise. The best thing to do would just be to let somebody know that you're doing it, but the best thing is to find, if you're struggling with that, find someone with a big garden, find a church or a school that isn't going to mind, and go for it. Okay? Now you have to react.
Okay, so we're gonna have a quick vote. Okay, so we're not gonna tell you which is which, but You've got to get your view, that's it, to gallery. If you think you should call this, if you think you should call this Come to the Cross,
Yeah, yes.
I want you to react with a thumbs up. If you
Ed
think
told
we
me I
should
was
call
being
this,
too Catholic.
if you, sorry, Amy, Come to the Cross is a thumbs up, and Good Friday in the Park is a heart. Okay, Good Friday in the Park is a heart. Come to the Cross is a thumbs up. Let's vote. Okay, Good Friday in the park, and now we've got to whiz across, and someone cleverer than me has to tell me which wins.
Oh, boo! It looks like you're winning, Ed.
Is that right? We're not gonna. Okay, Good Friday in the Park is the heart. Thumbs up is Come to the Cross. Okay, we're not going to judge anyone for that. Well done. Thank you very much. That was very interesting.
Well, you call it what you wanted for your...
Yes, Amy. And the story of Easter is we can all be winners. Now, we're going to move straight on. Thank you, Amy. Paula, are you there? Can you start shouting? Paula is going to tell us about Easter Walkabout. Go, Paula.
Walkabout Easter. Well, I mean, walking is very on trend at the moment. So obviously you need to do an event that is all around walking. So Walkabout Easter, that is immersive, it's engaging, hopefully not just immersive in hand sanitizer, but, you know, to make everything COVID safe, we always bring the hand sanitizer. So I'm going to now do the awkward thing where I tell you I'm going to share my screen. We're all going to wait, and Amy showed off her beautiful drawings. I'm showing you gazebos over pictures of parks. Isn't it wonderful? So Walkabout Easter, it's something where you take a walk and you make it better because you get to hear the Easter story as you go along. So maybe you're going to do this in the park. It's springtime, you can be outdoors, put up the gazebo, give it an outing, set up some stations to be able to tell people the Easter story. So maybe you would start off by having the Last Supper. Jesus had his final meal with his friends. The last things he said to them, I'm doing this for you and remember me. You get to share this moment with people as they walk around finding out about Easter. Maybe you can't do it in the park. Maybe that's not going to work work for you. Why not do it in a car park? Maybe your church has a really large car park. Maybe you could set up your gazebos there. Another station that you could do would be Barabbas. A guilty man goes free. I mean, what injustice? Like, people will just be standing there thinking this is so unfair. And yet, is this not what Jesus did for us on the cross? Which would be a great way to lead you into the next station, which would be talking about the cross, what happened on the cross. Use the children in your family, only use the people in your bubble to do the t-shirt swap. You probably want to think twice what's going to be traumatic. It might be a bit traumatic acting out, nailing someone to a cross. So instead, give them the t-shirt swap as you give them the gospel message. So maybe you have a church building that's really prominent in your community. Maybe you could place these stations around the building on the outside. So maybe people could just be walking around there on the pavement. That could be an option for you. Again, under your gazebo, keep all of your actors nice and dry. But maybe the park one, maybe this is the field and I just didn't use a different background. Don't leave people just thinking, oh gosh, this is just a bit of a sad walk. We've walked around and we've heard this unfair story and now this man has died. No, not the end of the story. We finish off at the empty tomb. Pop the little party poppers. Let's have a celebration because Jesus is alive. So not just any walk. You've been on this amazing walk. You found out all about Easter. You can do this in a COVID safe way, but you get to serve together as a church. This might sound familiar because we actually provided a resource for a walkabout nativity. We had some feedback from a vicar in Glasgow. He said this was the best event that they put on and that he's seen in his 5 years of being there. He said there were about 150 children, loads of guests, and people were able to serve together as a church. Every serving rota has gone out the window and now they were able to serve again together in the community. Best of all, he heard people saying, wow, there's actually young people that still go to church. Maybe this could be the time that you surprise the people in your community as you show them that young, normal people also go to church. So that is what a walkabout Easter is. I think, Ed, do you want to hand the baton to the next person?
Great. We're flying through. Do you follow where we're going? Easter Festival, Good Friday in the Park, as we're now calling it. We've just heard about Easter Walkabout. Rachel, can you pop up? We're going to talk now about Easter on Zoom, Easter Zoom, Zoom Easter. Rachel, you start talking.
Great. I'm going to talk about doing a Zoom Easter thing, but first let's go back to Christmas. May I have a thumbs up? Whose church family did do a Zoom nativity of any kind, ours or otherwise? Any thumbs up? I'm seeing some there. Cool. Okay, well, if you did it, you may well be familiar with what Zoom Easter might look like. But if you aren't, then let me fill you in. The idea for the Zoom nativity was for the whole church family to get involved, acting out the story together in the most COVID-safe way possible from our own homes. So the Zoom nativity could have been done live if you felt truly wild, but probably recorded by everyone individually and then kindly stitched together by your church's wonderful tech person. So Faith and Kids provided a script that our resident BBC comedy writer put together, and that could be beefed up and ad-libbed on, or it could also just be slimmed down and kept pretty simple, depending on your church's capacity and who you have available. But the same idea for a Zoom Easter. Now, I saw a Scottish version, a Northern Irish, and a Welsh version. If that was anyone in the room, thank you so much. They warmed my heart incredibly. It was wonderful. Well, my husband and I were given Mary and Joseph for our church family's Zoom nativity, and we loaded up our Zoom background created by the Faith and Kids illustrator. We grabbed a couple of scarves, garbed ourselves up, and we were away. We had everything we needed to do it. And when I was doing it, I commented to Joseph that it was great to be able to serve the church family again. A little bit of what we were just hearing about being back on the other side, that I'm not really on a rota. And actually, I believe in serving in my church family and I want to do something, but it is an odd season. And I kind of am in this consumer mode of sitting on my sofa. So it genuinely felt really good to get up off the sofa and do something, however small it was and however wrapped in scarves it was. So the idea with a Zoom Easter would be very similar, a flexible script based on Jesus' death and resurrection, and hopefully some backgrounds provided by the Faith and Kids illustrator. We'd love to hear more thoughts on what you think would work, and hopefully some willing volunteers to bring it to life in your own churches and in your church families.
Thank you very much. Well done. You need to know
Sorry, I don't know what I did then. I did something wrong.
Going again.
I'm not meant to.
Oh, this is fun.
I'm sorry. Can someone move me to another room?
we're being thrown around in virtual hyperspace. Apologies, you're back here. We're all together. Be careful what you say again. Sorry about that. We'll fly on. That was exciting. Who knows where we are? Your head is spinning and so is mine. Okay.
Was it the rapture, Ed?
The rapture.
Moment.
Can you imagine?
I want to reassure everyone, when the Lord does return, it will be far more transparent and clear what is happening than that. It was not a foretaste. Right. I've got one more thing to tell you before we actually go to breakout groups. This is Advent windows. We noticed during Advent windows that little legs can't walk very far, but they can walk a distance. So the Easter version, and one of you said, can't we do this walkabout Easter in gardens? And that is what this could be, which is an Easter ramble or Easter amble. And if you put them together, hashtag Easter amble, it's a ramble. There, Amy is flashing up the picture that you can or can't see. The idea of this is that walkabout Easter that Paula explained. Can you put that into 4 gardens, 5 gardens in your community? So that maybe on one Saturday, one Sunday, Easter weekend, you advertise to your community that they can walk around these gardens and do the story. And remember, little legs can't walk very far. So maybe a half-hour walk with 10 minutes at it, maybe a QR code or someone to explain it, depending on if you just put it in the window over the whole weekend, or there's something there for them to do. Do we have Nay Dawson here at the moment? Nay, if you're here, could you just shout? I don't think she's come yet. She's on the way. So that is the idea of an Easter ramble or Easter amble, which is your community, that walk that we've all got used to with our families in the interests of sanity can become a walk around windows. That was a big thing at Christmas, and some communities did it with or without the church. Okay, I've given you 4 ideas. Are we clear? We've talked about Easter festival with the Come to the Cross, Good Friday in the park. We've talked about Easter walkabout, a park, a big field outside the church, going around stations. We've talked about Zoom Easter, putting together a script, a series of monologues. The families get involved. Or finally, an Easter ramble. We're now going to go to our breakout groups with 2 questions in mind. Did one of those ideas capture your heart? Have you got a better idea to throw into your mix? When we come back, we'd love the breakout group leader or just you to talk to us about what came up. If you are a ponderer, you do not need to blurt out. You can just sit there and take it in. Welcome to a place of quiet listening. If you are one of those blurters and creatives who has come in with literally 1,000 ideas and you were promised an idea exchange, then elbow your way to the corner and get shouting. Okay, we've recorded this. So in the feedback, you can hear other people's ideas. Everyone clear? Anita's going to send us into hyperdrive. It's like the rapture. Anita, see you all back in 10 minutes. Let's go, team. Great, Nay. We'll come to you in a moment. Thank you very much, Nay. Lovely to see you. We're just going to hear now from some of those breakout groups, particularly breakout group leaders, because they've been chosen because they're the bravest and most likely to shout. But anyone can just chip in. We'd just love to hear which ideas have inspired. What are there common questions? And also, are there other ideas that have turned up already? Off we go, team. Shout it out.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll jump in. I'm not shy. I think for myself, I'm struggling with the idea of how you make executing someone fun and family friendly. That's the Christmas was a doddle. This is harder. But the favourite one seemed to be the Easter ramble. People like that. 3 or 4 gardens local to the church. Someone made the point that at Christmas they had to work out clear boundaries as who they were aiming for. Who was this event for? That really helped them focus and make it work. And I think the same person. I'm sorry if I've got this wrong now. They had Hunt the Nativity, people running around at Christmas dressed as different things in the village, and people had to find as many as they could. And we talked about whether we could do Hunt the Easter Egg, which is obviously people dressed as Easter eggs is a long way away from the Easter story. But if they each had a piece of jigsaw that they gave you so you could build up the Easter story at the end, that might work. And my final thought, Easter Sunday is the only day of the year apart from Christmas where supermarkets are closed. So I'm going back to the idea that we had the drive-in Christmas thing, drive-in all-age Easter service on Tesco car park. It worked for us, so we're going back to that.
Ian, while we have you, the author of the drive-in Christmas carols, just in one sentence, Ian, tell us your conclusion of carols in a car park and therefore Easter in a car park.
Well, my first line was to introduce it and say, this is the first and last time we will ever do this. And here I am within a month backtrack. It's like the Brexit deal falling apart. I'm straight away thinking of doing the same thing at Easter and already thinking we're going to be locked down at Christmas again. So doing it again then.
Because it went well, Ian?
Oh, yeah. It was brilliant. It was really good fun. It was mad and chaos. We did it with using Zoom. We used a Zoom webinar. So we had lots of people, number of people with cameras. We could link to them and make them go live on their cameras. So it was a relatively cheap and easy way of doing it. And no one had a problem downloading and connecting in the car park.
Thank you, Ian. Ian is available for answers to questions on a postcard. Anyone else want to just tell us about their breakout group? Just start talking now.
Okay, very quickly, I'm really glad I was in my group because I had no ideas. They had loads. Hannah has already put a post in the chat room about Disorganized Sunday School blog, which has got some scripts in it for Good Friday and Easter Day, and talked about resurrection gardens that can be made out of Lego or bread or garden-y stuff. And David talked about a Zoom Passover meal on Thursday evening, where you get people to read bits of Exodus explaining the Easter story, and you have your lamb and your bitter herbs and horseradish and all that sort of stuff. And the church family can have their tea while they're thinking about Easter as well. So,
Mark,
yeah,
thank you. What a bundle of ideas your group had. Thank you so much. Next, someone want to tell us about their group? Very helpful. I hope you're all scribbling. Amy?
So we were all quite keen on the Easter amble, Easter windows. Had a few questions. We're a little bit nervous about an Easter festival because we're thinking, about gathering outdoors, restrictions, blah, blah, blah. Putting up a cross in the churchyard that people could walk through was perhaps something that was fairly easy to do in terms of people accessing it and walking past. So a little bit nervous, but there's a lot of sort of multi-use that we can get a gazebo. We might use it for this, we might use it for that. So Faith and Kids are about to launch their own brand of gazebos, I believe.
Thank you, Amy, very much. Thank you.
Our group was very similar to Amy's, similar enthusiasm and similar concerns. Helpful comment to throw in was just those churches without a physical building are going to be more reliant on online material. So there was both a hunger for that, but also an enthusiasm for doing stuff online. And just to throw in, we as a church have been doing something pre-lockdown. Do you remember those days before lockdown? Doing something called the Easter Experience, which is very much like Walkabout Easter. And how to get at the cross, we do it through the eyes of the centurion, because the centurion talking about Jesus being crucified just throws it one person, and it allows you the space to get in there. And if you've got a church with lots of keen actors, that has absolutely flown, because we've got some real lovies in our church. So it's made it fly. And also that one, you can move online at the last minute if you have to, which is what we did last year.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Someone is just asking a question. What was the resurrection idea from Mark's group? That was the idea of resurrection gardens in some form. So can children make a resurrection garden in their garden, out of Lego, out of cake, out of anything? You share them, maybe it becomes competitive. And that was the idea. Thank you. Next one.
So we had, we were saying, it's hard to plan because you don't know what's going to be allowed, obviously, in terms of restrictions, that kind of thing. But delivering packages to families has worked well. So a little bag with, maybe some chocolate Easter eggs in there, but lots of craft, just like easy things for parents to do with their kids. And then another idea, which is maybe like the festival, but do you do it as part of a church service? To invite families Easter Sunday, have an outdoor service, and get them to bring a picnic blanket and give them a bag with craft things in it. So there's craft and cake before the service. You sit and do that, and then you have a short service, all age talk, puppets, whatever, because obviously services are allowed at the moment, and so that would be a way to gather people.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Breakout group leaders, you probably got time for one or two at the most. So if you're hanging back, now's the time to leap in, sharp elbows go.
I think. Ooh.
Sarah.
Thanks. So one of the lovely ladies in our group, who I think was also called Sarah, has a really great idea about doing an eyewitness Easter, which is very much along the lines of the Christmas experience type thing that you might have done in your churches, where you meet again, it was how do you make crucifixion fun, is you take it a step away. So you interview all the people, or you have all the different people who saw it. You interview Mary, you interview the centurion, you interview Peter, and you have this experience which you can either walk through a church, walk through a garden, go through your gazebos, go down the street, however you're doing it, and meet these people. Again, similar to what Gareth was saying, and having your local lovies getting involved and taking on these parts and getting people along to that. And apparently it was a very big hit at Christmas, with lots of non-Christian families coming to see it as well. So the thing that we've been struggling as a church is, yes, seeing families, yes, seeing our own church family and loving them and seeing them again in actual real live flesh, but seeing people who don't know Jesus is a step again, and that seems another really hard thing to do. And it would be a really, I mean, Easter's what an opportunity to talk about Jesus to people who don't know him, and so that whole step out of keeping everything comfort is something to keep on the horizons. Similarly, same worries about an Easter thing in the park and all the, I mean, up here in the north, we've not been allowed in each other's gardens since about July. So the thought of going in a park with other people is quite horrifyingly scary, let alone probably not allowed. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. The reputation of the north is crazy and risky, so maybe try that next year. Okay, so was there one other group leader who wanted to say something? Last one.
Yeah, it's just there's a slight variation on the kind of walkabout Easter story, which someone mentioned, was to turn it into a kind of murder mystery, investigating kind of the death of Jesus and doing some quiz work. I don't know anything more about that, but Nick Lambert, who's in this group somewhere, Nick, if you want to kind of post any details about that, that would be great. The other thing is, can we not do some baking involving chocolate? I mean, Ed,
it's just coming, Ian. Don't jump the gun. Thank you, Ian. That, Ian, was like a well-rehearsed link. Rachel, unmute yourself. Do we have some ideas involving chocolate?
We may well do if people are up for it, but many of you may be familiar with the Christmas bake-along. Some of you will have heard of it, some of you won't. Again, can we have a thumbs up? Are people familiar with the Christmas bake-along? Did you see it? Did you eat some of the gingerbread that have been made? Wonderful, lots of thumbs up there. So if you weren't able to get involved yourself, you haven't heard of it, it is an evangelistic online event you can invite your neighbours and kids' friends to hear both the real meaning of Christmas, while also offering, and this is potentially the unique part, a genuinely fun activity to be done at home that is still connected to your local church. So at Christmas, this was offered out in two ways. The first way was a script for churches to do it themselves locally on Zoom or however would work in a COVID-safe way. And the second way would be to do using the video that Faith in Kids put together using Martha Collison. If you're unfamiliar with her, a very popular quarter-finalist from the Great British Bake Off a number of years ago. She's a professional baker and she's a Christian. She agreed to host the show with Ed. It was professionally filmed and available. If you'd like to go back and have a look at it on the YouTube channel to get a flavour of it, please do. That was able to be shared and enjoyed by families in the lead up to Christmas. So the main question being, should a similar thing be done? Should it include chocolate? What could or could not be done? Should we be reinventing the wheel? Is this going to work for Easter? Is it going to be a bake or make along? Could something like that happen? So I'd love to tell you a little bit about my neighbour. I live in a block of flats in London. Generally, it's been really hard to talk to people. And even though we started a block-wide WhatsApp group, the take-up wasn't great. And I was feeling really quite discouraged. But anyway, a particular neighbour and I did get in touch over WhatsApp, and I was able to deliver the ingredients to do the gingerbread make-along. And turned out that she was so appreciative of it. She ended up exchanging Christmas cards and presents, and it got so far from nothing for months and months to suddenly being in this exchange that we've agreed to have cup of tea in each other's houses at the end of lockdown, which is just a joy that something like that was able to build such a bridge. And it was such a gift in the sense of it was an easy invite. It felt good for me to be able to do something, to be able to give to the local community. And I don't know about you, but to be able to share that truth of God with us, or the story and the truth of Easter, maybe you have stories of you doing it with your church family, or maybe you did it yourselves. And I have a direct quote here that says, "This was the first invite that my friend really thanked me for." And yeah, it's a chance to do something practical and local. I'd be keen for folks to bash this around in breakout rooms to see if it's got any life left in it.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Perfect. I'm now just going to talk about the Easter Day service. So I guess if there is some thinking that we wonder if Good Friday might be the opportunity for something in the park, disorganized, families coming together, outreach. And Easter Sunday might be the one of something more like a service, something outdoors. Now, in our group, our group was clear that there is a nervousness about anything that is outdoors, that there's anything that is shared, whereas like a Zoom Easter, that feels very safe. I totally understand that. The appeal of an Easter Day service outdoors is to say socially distanced. If we're allowed to sing, if we're not allowed to sing, there is still a version where you don't. But what you're saying is we are church in front of the watching world. People can see what we're doing. Again, all those issues we've talked about. Will the park give us permission? Do we have our own garden? Do we have our own place we can go? There is in some churches a tradition of a sunrise Easter service. There's a thought, you turn up at 5 o'clock in the morning or whenever sunrise is on Easter Day. I was just thinking that for myself, this might be the one Easter where that seems like a plausible thing for my family to do. Of all the Easters in the world, this is the first one where I'd think we'll get up at 5 o'clock, because anything to be with people and to have a moment. Does that involve a bonfire? Does that involve, I don't know what? But, you know, if it's a sunrise service aimed at families, it's probably not going to be a sit down long thing, but it will be chaotic and it will be fun and it will involve singing if we're allowed to do it. So I think there are a few ways we could think about outdoor Easter Day main services, even if we've not been outdoors and we've not been meeting so far. This could be the moment to say, those who don't want to come don't need to come, but we could do something, particularly for chaotic families. Okay, next, we are going to hear from Nay Dawson. Can you just jump up, Nay? We have talked about the Easter ramble, maybe going around 4 or 5 windows or homes. Could you just tell us, Nay, how that's worked for you in your community at Christmas and how you're thinking about it at Easter? Nay, start talking.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ed. So I'm Nay. I live in Southampton. I'm not a youth worker or children's worker. I'm just a mum who loves her community. And actually, Ed, hang on. How long did you want me to talk for?
A couple of minutes, Nay, would be lovely.
Yeah. Ed wanted me to share about what we've been up to. So this started for me in November with Halloween. I prayed in September, how can you use me this year when we're in lockdown? And I felt him say, Nay, where do you think you shouldn't be? So I invited 3 friends round to plan a Halloween trail with me. I don't celebrate Halloween because I'm a Christian and my kids are scared of Peter Rabbit, hoping they would organise it and I would just disappear. Didn't actually go to plan. I ended up running a Halloween trail. And what was amazing is that we had 20 other families that got involved straight away. None of them were Christians. I sat my kids and husband down and said, what are we going to do? We're part of a Halloween trail. We don't celebrate it. So we decided to be the House of Light. And we put these incredible lights up. We wrote evangelistic stories, gave out 500 gift bags on the end of our street. And that's how the trails in our area started. And obviously after that, people were saying, let's do more. It was so good. And what I really like about these trails where you have lots of people in the community involved is that you instantly are working alongside Christians and non-Christians together. And so for the Nativity Trail, we decided to do 24 houses. We had over 40 people apply. We had to turn people away. Each house had to meditate on a piece of scripture. Majority weren't Christian. And they then had to decorate the front garden or the front of their house according to that bit of the nativity story. Kids then went round with a beautiful trail map. We get an artist locally to design our trail maps for us. And at each house they had a clue they had to find, which spelt out a sentence. And then again, at the end of the 3 blocks, because we did it in 3 because it was December, we had a little gift bag. And there was a story that raises curiosity about Jesus and gave away chocolates and tattoos and things like that. We're now planning what to do. Since then, we've run 3 trails in total. I run it all through a Facebook page, which has had a reach of nearly 40,000 people now. So I recommend you don't just think about your events, you think about how you build community between your events with something like Facebook, which is free and brilliant. But for Easter, we've decided to not go for an Easter trail. we want to reach maximum amount of people. So we're going to go for an Easter egg or a bunny sort of trail, which will get many, many people involved. And then we're going to do little craft kits where people can make their own Easter garden, colour in stuff, full of basically wonderful Christian message stuff. But we're going to be appealing to many by doing some sort of Easter egg hunt instead. And I really recommend you just think about, rather than doing something small with a few Christians, see what you can do to actually bring your community in. So I hope that's enough, Ed. Let me know if
totally brilliant. Nay, do you think before you leave, can you just put in the chat, so where can people see the Facebook page, or where they can visit your blog to get the unfolding details of what you plan for Easter? Can you just do that for us?
Yeah, sure. If you just want to look on my blog, which is naydawson.com, I'll put it in the chat. Then I just write everything up. So I've got a blog post on running a Halloween trail, a blog post on running a Christmas trail, and I'm not saying copy me. I'm just talking about my experience. But I do think it's really easy to think job's done because we've got 4 houses on an Easter trail, but actually people are desperate for community. So I'd really encourage you to think about how you build community in between your events.
Nay, thank you very much. Amy, we have all the ideas we've looked at so far have been deliberately thinking about churches. We're now going to think about some family ideas. How can we empower the family to get busy? Amy, can you unmute and start talking about the Weekend of Wonder?
Okay, so a Weekend of Wonder is something to try and encourage families in your church, particularly. So instead of perhaps thinking more outreachy stuff, this is about encouragement. So for families who have struggled, we're like a year into something that we never really thought we would, just to try and encourage them to make the most, to have some faith-based conversations around the dinner table over the Easter weekend. So I've got one of my other terrible drawings, my scribbles. I'll put them all on our Facebook page and Instagram page and Twitter feed and stuff over the next few days. So like and subscribe, people. So our Weekend of Wonder will be things like, how can you encourage the family to sit round the dinner table on perhaps Thursday evening, Good Friday? How can they have a conversation? How can you encourage perhaps families in your church or those connected to your church to open up the Bible for the first time and start to talk about the Easter story? Could they make pita bread pizzas? Can they make some Ribena and pour it out of the jug? Can they wash one another's feet? Can we give them a family meals with Jesus type Bible study that's easy for them to have a go, to try and build confidence that the Bible is accessible? We can talk about faith, we can have these conversations. So how can you start to know Jesus and talk about him at home? Saturday, how can we know Jesus and talk about him in normal everyday family life? So how can we talk about him on a walk? How can we talk about him when we're making hot cross buns? How can we bring it in to normal family life? Could we listen to a podcast and go for a walk and solve some clues and find some things? So how can those faith conversations become part of family normal activities? And then Sunday, how can you meet up with another family? How can you get that connection of community? How can you feel that you're worshipping as part of a church? Can you go somewhere with another family, socially distance on different picnic tables and fry an egg and thank God together and have a moment of prayer that Jesus is alive, hooray. My son is very excited about the idea of going to go and fry an egg in a cave on Easter Sunday. So there you go. So just something to try. Could you put some resources? Could you give some inspiration? Could you give some ideas, a Bible study, a recipe, a bake into the hands of families to try and encourage them to say, let's talk about Jesus together?
Thank you. So we have just covered 4 ideas. We have the bake-along version. I think what we would love to understand is there was a tension in our mind that if we centrally did the bake-along for you, then that actually stopped a church from doing their own bake-along. So we would love to hear if there's a strong view there on whether we should deliberately leave churches do their own bake-along and we shouldn't go fiddling around with doing ours. Bake-along, an Easter day, an outdoor service, maybe a car park Easter version, a Weekend of Wonder for families. And if you want to revisit the idea of an Easter ramble with Nay, not literally, but she'll be there for you. No, I'll stop going on with that. But you get what I mean. Great. We're going to go to our breakout groups. There's 4 ideas, or bring your own back. Anita's going to hyperdrive us. Let's go. We know the drill. Breakout group leaders, does one of you just want to start shouting ideas that really hit home, or some new ideas shared that we could all benefit from hearing about?
Yes, I'm going to jump in. Oh, no.
John, you're next. Go, Nikki.
I'm determined to go first. Okay, so the Easter bake-along, I think pretty much all of us joined in. Most of us, I think Richard, his church did their own, and that worked brilliantly. For those who have the guts to do it on their own and the resources to do it on their own, brilliant. But for those of us who are in smaller churches or less resourced churches, we just really appreciated the professional Faith in Kids produced one. It was a really easy invite. People loved it. It was so brilliant to be able to drop off the ingredients to friends, and we saw lots of non-Christian families responding really positively to those invites. So we would love it if Faith in Kids were able to do another professional, wonderful bake-along for Easter, because that was great. And we'll build on Christmas, because we had so much positive feedback from the Christmas one that I think people would be up for another one. I think we felt in our group quite nervous about any gathering of people. I was sharing in our group, I feel quite bruised after Christmas, where we put a huge amount of work into a massive car park nativity, and then the day before we were due to do the service, Boris put us in hardcore tier 4 and we weren't allowed to do it. Yeah, just feeling a little bit nervous about putting a lot of work into an event that might end up not happening. So I think anything that, so we're talking about Zoom, that they're either acting out on Zoom would be brilliant. We like that idea. Or Ian, I think it was, came up with, he said that they did a Lego, acting out with Lego people for nativity, and the children narrated that as the Lego characters acted out the nativity. And that was done as a video that went out, and that was all the children loved that. So thinking about doing an Easter thing with Lego people and children acting out this or reading out the script.
Nikki, thank you. Brilliant. John, jump in, John.
Great, I will do that. Thank you. I think in our group, we had a lot of enthusiasm for the bake along or the craft along ideas, and some that's been covered. I think that we felt a lot of us had enjoyed doing our own thing at Christmas, but thought it was great that Faith in Kids did it, and we didn't see any problem with there being both.
Okay.
Just feels like it's a great idea. Families love doing something together. We thought hot cross buns might be better than something like cornflake nests because of the sense of achievement. Do something that is beyond most families, but because you give them the ingredients, because you walk them through it, because you make it fun, the kids do something they've not done before. So we felt that aiming like that was good. We had a good conversation about how you deal with the cross in that context. Gingerbread Mary and Joseph was a doddle to tell the Christmas story and point to the gospel. More difficult to talk about the cross on the bum being a means of execution. A lovely idea about one of our group members putting out a candle in a jar, which does with year 2 children. You have a lighted candle, Jesus the light of the world, and then put a jar over the candle and in silence watch it go out and talk about how Jesus was treated, and then go somewhere really light, bring in a lot of light and talk about the resurrection. Something like that just seemed good, where you're not fudging the cross, but you're not using nails or something. I think thinking about that would be really helpful, because the cross is at the heart of our salvation, and we want to talk about it, but we don't want to put off families and terrify them. So yeah, that was useful.
Thank you, John, very much. Next, another leader who wants to tell us about their group.
Yeah, we can share. We were saying that obviously unsure about Easter, whether we'll be able to meet or not. So a little bit nervous of planning gathering events, but we were saying how we quite liked the idea of the weekend of wonder, and how we can encourage families to be reading the Bible together and to cook a meal or to come together. I think that was a really good idea. And then we were then thinking, how does that work with non-Christians? How would we give this out or encourage them to come along? But we really loved the idea of the wonder of Easter.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to go? Probably time for one or two at the most.
Like
So
I'm at the
jump in.
bar trying to get a drink. So we like the bake along idea as well, but suggest maybe instead of baking, make along, so something crafty, so it's a little bit different. But we all loved it, had all done it and thought it was great, brought in lots of people and lots of visitors. The other thing, Amanda Lansdowne had a lovely thing that she did last Good Friday. She had 2 types of Easter egg hunts. One in particular for preschoolers, where so she said it was easier because it was a smaller church, but she took each family 6 eggs, and in each egg was a little picture of something from the Easter story, and she also gave them a little book, a coloured book, and they then on the Good Friday, she delivered it on the Thursday, on the Good Friday they were to hide them in the garden, they had to go and find them, stick the stickers into their booklets, but then the lovely thing was they had a Zoom call all at the same time, so that then they could talk through the little booklets and they could show the pictures. So it became then more of a church thing with the church families. So that was lovely. And that was particularly preschoolers. And she says she's got a PDF. And I said, please, can she share that? And then she did one for older kids as well, again 16 eggs, and she delivered that and they had to hunt, and then they had the Zoom call as well. So just we were thinking we liked that was a bit different.
Thank you, Jane. One more group leader wants to shout now.
If I can come in there, please. My group had some great ideas. Couple of people suggested great resources to use. Someone said using the Good Book Company's The Garden, the Curtain and the Cross as a resource for families. Perhaps even using that to create some little YouTube clips for each day. Someone else suggested Inspector Smart and the Empty Tomb as a resource for a murder mystery. And you can buy a copy for each family, either doing that live or doing that on Zoom as a kind of escape room type thing. I think Emma McFowle, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your surname, is coming up with some stuff on that. And then we just felt that, yeah, there's no conflict between Faith in Kids Bake Along and Church Bake Along, that the various ways to marry the two together. We think it's great.
Ruben, thank you so much. Amy, you're about to jump in now with your 2 ideas. Victoria, you're going to be coming after Amy, so get your excitement ready. Amy, off you go.
So this is the time where I now make every idea you've ever had sound okay, because here is my let's get down with an 80s Easter theme. So the idea of this is we're all a bit fed up and we all need to remember how to laugh and have a bit of fun. So I'm going to recommend to you, do you remember last year or possibly the year before, there was the craze of making those Easter garden biscuits with the jammy dodger that was like the stone with the well, I would like to bring back the vol-au-vent. So I think, do you remember at those buffets, I do, where there was the vol-au-vent with a little crispy top and inside was the super boiling hot chicken and white wine sauce that was like molten lava. It looks like a tomb. So there you go. You could have a vol-au-vent snack. So you could have your Easter feast and introduce your children my children have never tasted a vol-au-vent, and I think that's just wrong. And there's also, look.
Oh, Amy, that's enough. Move on.
Arctic roll.
Oh, Amy, just stop with your next idea, Amy. Thank you.
No, I just want one more. You also get a big hit at the moment is skateboarding and roller skates. Did you know there is a national shortage of roller skates because everybody's buying them? So you get the roller skates.
No, really, Amy.
Roll on down.
No, I'm actually going to mute you. Move on now.
To learn about the stone that rolled away.
Thanks, Amy.
Everyone wants to go to learn.
No one wants to know. Go, move, next one.
What was my next one? Oh, okay. Slightly better. This is now going to look even better thanks to that. Easter escape room. So an online virtual escape room game where you have to solve various puzzles, crack the codes to set Barabbas free from prison and learn something about the Easter story. So if you've not done a virtual escape room before, generally what happens, you could do it in a Zoom group with different family members. You could do it with older kids, or you could print one out and families could do it a bit like a board game. So there's various different challenges that you have to solve. So like you'd show a PowerPoint screen, spot the differences, or crack the code to release the padlock to get out, that kind of stuff. So an Easter escape room. There's a guy, Dangerous Dave. I will put his email, his website into the chat in a minute. And he's done some free escape room games. He did a Christmas one, he's done a Around the World one, and is apparently working on an Easter one as well. What's Dave's surname, Ed?
Dave Thornton. I think you're the only one in the world who calls him Dangerous Dave. Amy, are you done? Thank you.
I'm done.
Great. Victoria, can you unmute yourself? Amy, thank you for those ideas. Some are better than others. Victoria, off you go, and I promise not to judge you.
That's fantastic. I'm really passionate about faith at home. So I run a thing called God Venture, and it's all about faith at home. So my ideas are all aimed at something that families can do at home together to grow in their faith at home, and whether they're church families or are not church families. I've actually just written a web post with 40 ideas on it. So I've put a link to it in the chat, and I'll put it in again because it's zoomed up. But I'm really passionate about families finding something that's unique for them. So I think as children's workers, we have a really good opportunity to be the curator of the ideas. And I was saying in our breakout room that as children's workers, we often collect ideas a little bit like small children collect pebbles on a walk. And because we want all the ideas, we want to collect them all together, we want to keep them. And then when we get to the front door, if you're a parent, what do you do with the pebbles? You don't want them in your house. And the children are walking really slowly up the hill on the way home because their pockets are full of pebbles. And so for me, I really want to facilitate families finding that one thing that they can manage, that fits in with where they're at with the family, how tired they are, what sort of things they like doing. So my list has got questions with it. So what sort of a family are you? Are you a Lego family? Are you a baking family? Are you an outdoors family? Have you got mostly under fives? Have you got more teenagers? Are you looking for a Bible challenge? Are you looking for some way to pray together? Because I think that, I don't know about you, but immediately in my head, I can think of families that fit those criteria and that I could share that idea with them. So I just encourage you to go onto my Facebook page and like it so that you get them. I'm basically going to share an idea a day for the next 6 weeks. And I'd encourage you could share those on your page if you wanted to, but more importantly, I'd love you to tag individual families who you think would really love that particular idea, or share it or send it to them or something, because I think as a mum, I would love that. If somebody who knows that my kids are really into Lego, sending me that Lego idea that we were just talking about how to do Jesus and the Easter story in Lego. I don't want all the rest of the ideas because I can only really do one. And so I want you to send me the one that you think will be really good to me, or maybe 2 or 3 maximum to give me a little bit of choice. Does that make sense? It's trying to get rid of that kind of overwhelm and making it feel like homework, because, you know, nobody needs more homework, do they?
Victoria, just tell us the name of your Facebook page.
So it's called God Venture. I will stick it in here.
Perfect.
On Facebook. And I've written the whole list up as a web post, and it's on my Facebook page today. So you can click through and find all the questions and the list of all of them, or you can follow it on Facebook. So it's ideas, it's free. So just come and grab it and share it with people.
Thank you very much, Victoria, for doing that for us.
No worries.
Paula, unmute yourself. Last idea that we are offering for the day, and then it will be a breakout group. Paula, can you unmute and go?
Yeah, we're thinking about school assemblies. I'm pretty sure it's a low priority for teachers at the moment to do something fun and to be true to the gospel message. So that is maybe where you could come in. So on the Faith and Kids website, we do already have 5 really fun, engaging different Easter assemblies. So those are something that you could already be accessing. So, and we've got different things, you know, we've got eyewitness accounts. I think somebody was saying that could be a way to talk about the cross, eyewitness accounts, but you also get a science experiment with it. So that's fun. For all the Amdram people, we've got dramatic monologues from different characters from the Easter story. Maybe you're a budding magician. We've got one that's got a magic trick, and how different people reacted to seeing the same thing happen on the cross. There's also one about hot cross buns and Easter eggs, because loads of kids think that is the only thing Easter is about. Or there's one where you get to smash a raw egg on somebody's head as you explain the swap. So loads of good ideas there. And maybe this is a way for you to kind of reignite links that you had with schools. Maybe you ran a kids club, you miss all your kids. Could you produce an assembly and send it to schools? Maybe you could just have the same content and then record a little different message for different individual schools and top and tail it with that. I guess, you know, ideal thing is you can make a video and just send it to them. I don't really know what the school situation is at the moment, and that's probably a hot topic to not open up at the moment. But also, is this the one thing where you just think, I literally am only going to be able to encourage our church to do one Easter event? I'd love to do this, but this is kind of the bottom of the pile. No one's going to tackle it. So then is that the kind of thing where actually if we made a short video that just had the content, you know, Ed getting a raw egg smashed on his head, and then you do your personal bits, top and tail it, is that the kind of thing that would be really helpful? So we do have resources already on the website. Go check them out. It's really worth it. Obviously, best case scenario is you recording something quickly. I'm pretty sure at this point of lockdown, everybody is a pro, obviously, with making their own videos, recording everything, put all those props and costumes to good use. I know Amy's ready to make it an 80s assembly.
Don't raise it again. People have forgotten about it. Paula,
no, they never will. That's it. Assemblies. Go find them.
In our group, we had a conversation about maybe resources we could give schools to at the moment. And some in our group were talking about the idea of every child decorating an egg, because every family has an egg at home. So could we produce a resource for schools which simply gives them a lesson about Easter? The craft is decorating an egg. Every child gets to do it. Every child gets to display their egg. We have some sort of competition if you want, because everything has to be a competition. And you're offering the teachers something to put in their routine that they may or may not love, but you have offered. And I think in a local school, there's that connection, the power of local at the moment. The parents are getting involved and offering support and care. Okay, we're now going to go to our breakout groups. Since we last met, this is the last time we're going to do it. It's 6 minutes. It's short and sharp. We're going to be talking about 80s Easter, but not for long. Escape rooms with Dangerous Dave. He doesn't know he's called Dangerous Dave. School assemblies that we could help. Victoria's ideas. But maybe most helpfully, is there one idea that you just want to go and turn over some more? This is the last time together. Anita, send us out through the vault. So people are understandably leaving. I get that. I'm sorry. We haven't managed to fit a litre into a pint pot, or whatever the phrase is I should have used. Breakout group leaders, if you had to say one sentence or no sentences, what would that be? Unmute, shout it out, blurt it. You can't have long. This could be perfect.
Who was about to go there? Okay, so just a follow on from God Venture, I'm going to put into the group. So a mini egg prayer idea. So have a look at that. Also, there was the thought of actually sciencey things are quite exciting. Thinking of what can you do at home. So you could paint an egg. Everyone's got an egg. Or instead of baking or craft along, could you have like a science off? A very undeveloped idea, but if there's a science person in the room, maybe they can develop that.
Thank you. I'm just going to finish by wrapping up with some notices very quickly. If you are the leader of your church's children's ministry and you haven't heard from us, you know you would have done, because if you are registered with us, we would have sent you a free copy of this. If you didn't receive a free copy of this and you are your children's ministry leader, paid, unpaid, volunteer, you may be the only one in your church who knows you are. Can you send us an email with your name, your church, and your postal address? You don't need to send it to us if you've already done it. Anyone else wants to, please do. Thank you. Social media is where you can go to find out these ideas, particularly the resources we choose to develop. We'll be letting you know. Register on our webpage. That's straightforward. Podcasts for parents. We do podcasts for families. If you don't know what a podcast is, ask someone to show you. They're surprisingly good, and you never need to listen to the radio again. The next big day out we do, that is more of this. This isn't quite a big day out. The next one will be training for Easter. How do you use our resources? We'll have a few guests in. We've persuaded Victoria to join us again. We may even have Nay, and we'll have some other guests. Book us in. It's on our website, ready to go. faithinkids.org. All the details you need are there. Okay. That just leaves me to say we've got a straw poll now. So before you leave, how do I stop share? There, Anita, by the magic of miracles, is going to put up a straw poll. Which of these ideas that you have heard would you love us to work on more? Yes, no, as many as you like. And that way we'll get a sense of what were the most popular ideas. We can't work on them all. Which did you love the most? You fill it in, okay? And then by the miracle of something, we will find out what to do next. It's sort of democratic, but it's not. Don't do them all because that's quite annoying. Okay, great. All done that. Finish off. Good. All done. Perfect. 10 more seconds. Thank you very much. I'll just talk while that's processing. Meals of Jesus, the wonder of Easter. Someone suggested the wonder of Easter. You film a family doing it for Lent, the first one. Then you do a bake-along pancake day on Shrove Tuesday. And then you set up the WhatsApp group for your churches to get busy with it, to encourage them, not to make them feel more guilty. Great. I'm going to pray. You've been great. Dear Father, I thank you that Easter is yours. I thank you that as Christians, we own hope and joy. I pray, Father, that out of this would come one idea that we could turn over, we could gather a team, and we could serve our church and community by celebrating Easter with them. Please, Father, don't overwhelm us. Please, Father, don't give us more than we can bear. But please, Father, allow us to see how we, with the gifts and the church and the community you have given us, can serve you and them this Easter with the greatest story of hope the world has ever known. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. We are done. Thank you. Those of you who are left, I'll see you soon. We all wish we could hang around and have a coffee together. Breakout group leaders, you've been lovely. We'll see you all again. Those who want to hang around can.